Welcome back, everybody. You guys are listening to the Down to the Wire podcast. I am your host, Brian Costa, and I am very pleased to announce that we have a special guest in the building tonight. I've known him very personally on campus. He's a member of the Bryant Club basketball team, and he is running for president of the student government. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in Bryant Brown. Welcome in, man.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Really appreciate being on the show. Looking forward to talk about my campaign and a little bit more about club basketball and just basketball in general.
100%, man. I've seen your campaign slogan already, Bryant for Bryant. I mean, you can't have a more appropriate name to be representing the school. I got to assume, my name's like close enough that I got kind of called out for it. Did your friends kind of give you grief when they found out that you were coming here?
Yeah, I probably get that about once a day.
Yeah.
Someone's always like, "Oh, did you choose Brian because of the name?" And I always tell them no, but nobody ever believes me.
Yeah, I get the same thing. It's always like that. So, you said you didn't choose Bryant because of the name. Why did you choose Bryant?
So I'm a marketing applied analytics major and just a business major in general. That's always been my interest. And I chose Bryant just because I always liked how business focused they are. And for me, picking a college, I really want to pick a college that's going to help me get a job after college, because that's, to me, the most important part about going to college.
Yeah. And, I just alluded to a couple things about you, but if there's anything else you want to say, maybe where you're from, what your favorite teams are, kind of let the fans know, who is Bryant Brown?
Yeah. So my hometown is Chatham, New Jersey. Okay. And I've been following basketball for a long time. And my favorite team is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know, even though I'm a Jersey kid, this should be like the Nets or the Knicks, but I love the Thunder since they had KD and Westbrook. So I got to stick with them, even though they're looking a little tough right now.
Yeah. So was it that kind of original dynamic of KD, Russ, and Harden that kind of drew you in at a young age? Was that
Yeah. Mostly I got really into them when it was after the Harden. I was always into them, but after Harden was traded, I really started to like Russ as a player, and he still is my favorite player to this day.
Well, that's good, because we have a storyline about Russ that'll be coming up later in the show. But you are running for president of student government. When you came to Bryant, was that something that was kind of always on your mind? Was that something that you had done previously, or how did you kind of get yourself into that role?
No, yeah, this is actually a crazy story. So in high school, never did anything like student gov wise at all. Was never interested. So then I get into freshman year, I'm talking to seniors, and they were like, and I'm like, oh, what's something I should be interested in? And they were like, oh, you could try student government maybe. Mm-hmm. They were saying it's a good club and you get to meet people. And I was like, and I've always been really good meeting people.
Yeah.
So I kind of ran, this is kind of bad to say, but freshman year, I didn't take it that seriously and kind of ran as a joke. And then somehow I actually won. I had the third highest voting. And I think I only lost the number one vote by 10 votes. And this is me barely campaigning at all. Just kind of telling all my friends yo, come vote for me. Actually, my slogan my freshman year was, you pick Brian once, so pick Brian again.
So, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So, you got a point there. And you're also not wrong about, being really good at meeting people. I feel like so many people have, been able to kind of interact with you. I kind of think found you a thing through the basketball courts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have some connections there too. I believe you're an integral part of the Bryant Club basketball team. What kind of cause did you get involved with them as well?
Yeah. So I am Bryant University Club basketball.
Yeah.
I'm the founder. Founded my sophomore. No, I founded that end of freshman year. So we really took off sophomore year, your freshman year. So that was our first official year. And I had to pick out the e-board, get all the jerseys, get our members, get all this crazy stuff. But now going into it, this is our second year, and we've been really impacted by the pandemic. So we haven't really been a club, but we're actually back. I can advertise that. Our first event is March 21st.
All right. Well, everyone, make sure you come out to that event. Make sure you're just participate and do whatever you can. Is that going to be I'm doubting that's going to be in person. That's going to mostly how would people get involved with that per se?
Yeah. So it's on a first come first serve basis, basically.
Okay.
you have to obviously show that you've been negative for like, I think it's three, you have to have 3 negative tests.
Okay.
And, the health checker app and all this fun stuff that we worked out.
Yeah. All the fun parts of Bryant University COVID testing.
Yes, exactly.
All the good stuff.
We're excited. So practices are Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I'll have to get back to you with the times, but I'm pretty sure they're around 7:30 on those days.
Okay, yeah. So then kind of transitioning a little bit back to student government. Sorry, we're kind of going a little over the place, but being a part of student government, what is like something that if a student was to come here in the future, what is something they would, maybe look towards, like what do you kind of do in that role? Like what do you do as a member of student government here at Bryant University?
Yeah, so we kind of advocate for students. Me personally, I worked on Bryant Dining and Bryant University Advancement. So the improvement you see in dining for these past few years, I had a big hand in that. So
thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. As I think the rest of the school probably does too. So yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah. I was actually had my own committee, had people that report to me, and we worked with Bryant Dining for the pick 4 option. That was kind of our big win. We call it wins whenever we do something for the school. So when I was in charge of the committee, our big win was the pick 4 option.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no. And that's been a huge hit here. So, I mean, I remember, funny story. I was like last semester, I was kind of like really, all over the place with my dining dollars and just like all the meal swipes in general. I had a ton left at the end of the semester. And when I tell you I got like 30 pick 4s when I was going home for winter break, I am dead serious. I went off with those things. That was, really clutch. So
yeah,
dude, those things are revolutionary here. Everyone loves the pick 4. So that is something really cool to have. And so you also kind of said that the first time you ran for student government, it was kind of on a joke. When you were approached, were you kind of approached about running for president, or was this something that you kind of came to on your own? Like what kind of intrigued you to run now this time?
So wait, let me get back to that joke.
Okay.
I feel like that makes me seem a little like I don't take it seriously.
Oh, so, yeah. No. I got you.
Yeah. So freshman year, I wasn't like 100% serious, but then I got into the club. I was committed to it. I loved it. I like fell in love. Like I was probably one of the most outgoing senators and really tried to advocate for students. So then I ran again sophomore year. I won. Really, I took that campaign seriously. So able to come back. And originally I was going to run for president my junior year.
Okay.
But then I had a choice between running for president and doing study abroad.
Ooh.
So yes. And then the pandemic hit, so I wasn't able to go to study abroad, but then
where were you going to be doing it?
Oh, I was going to be doing it in Germany because I speak a little German.
Oh, really? That's sick, dude. Yeah, no, I mean, I was, I'm a comm major, and I guess for the sophomore international experience, Germany was like one of the possible places we could have gone, which, just with my luck with COVID and everything like that, didn't get that opportunity. But, that would have been real. That would have been something really cool. I mean, Germany's a really cool place. So, so it's unfortunate that you can get to go there. Hopefully when the world's, a little bit, more normal, you will get to kind of explore that and be able to, do some, maybe, explore that. So, but in kind of running for president, I believe I know of only I think one other contender at this point, Liam Fluharty. I don't know how. I mean, obviously, just with politics in general, we stay out of it on this show because it's so volatile. But I mean, on campus, like, how does it kind of run? How does it kind of work with you guys? Like, are you guys kind of like like kind of like close knit within there, and it's just like, hey, I'm just doing my thing, like hope for the best? Is it kind of a camaraderie type thing, or is it kind of a little more cutthroat than we might make it out to be?
It's a pretty cutthroat. Really? I've been part of, I guess this is my 3rd executive election. This is probably the least volatile it's been, just because Liam and I have been friends since he came to Bryant, so we're really close. We talk, like when we both announced, we had about like a 10 to 15 minute phone call, just talk about the presidential race and how we want it to be like civil. We actually have a presidential debate March 24th.
Okay.
So make sure to tune into that. Where we're just going to be talking about this is what I want for the university and what he wants. So Liam and I really civil. Liam's a great guy. But yeah, obviously I want to win.
Yeah, exactly. So, going into that, what do you think separates you from Liam? Nothing about him personally, nothing about that, but just as a candidate, what do you think kind of separates you from the competition in a sense?
So yeah, what separates me is that I feel like, and I think most people would agree, I'm really approachable. And
Oh,
I think
100%.
yes, and I think that's really important for a student government president. Well, for student government overall, but even as a president, I want to make sure like anybody can come up and talk to me and just start talking about the issue. Because the best way for student government to be successful is that if we have students that come out and tell us what the problem is. Because there's a lot of stuff I want done, but like if like so and so, if a freshman who doesn't know me like wants something done, like I'll never know that. So I really want to be approachable to make sure that anyone can talk to not only me but anyone in student government, and we can try to get whatever issues they have solved.
Yeah, I don't know about this for you, but talking about just approachable presidents and all that stuff like here. When I was applying to Bryant, I know it wasn't student government president, but at the time, President Makeley was one of the key things that got me into coming here. I don't know about your kind of I don't know about your kind of perspective with him, but for me, that was something that really kind of intrigued me to come here because of how approachable he was. And I think having that as a student representation of the campus too, I don't know how much you're involved with like the freshman recruiting and all that stuff, but I think just having that as a face is something I think the university could really, thrive off of.
Yeah, and I've worked with President Makeley before. I haven't worked with the new president just because I was out of student government when he was coming in to the office. But I worked with the VPSA Inga and the VPSA before her, John Saddlemeyer. So I've worked with all high level people at Bryant. So I still have that relationship with most of them, which I think is beneficial.
Yeah.
And I think that's just really important. It goes to try to get stuff done on campus.
Yeah, man, that's actually really cool. Just to kind of have someone that has those connections like that. It's really cool here just because of how of a tight knit community is. You're really able to, kind of connect with some of like the higher ups at a university, which I feel like at a bigger university, like it really wouldn't be. I feel like that really just isn't available sometimes. I don't know if you kind of have a similar sentiment with that, but yeah.
No, yeah. I 100% agree. Like, I think because it's such a small university, and especially pre-COVID, you'd always see, yeah,
100%. Yeah, you can say it.
Yeah, you'd always see, like the higher ups at Bryant walking around, talking to students, having walking meetings. Like, that's what I hope that we'll be able to have that in the fall.
Yeah. I'm hopeful. I don't know if you saw the fall schedule yet, but they are giving us like a Thanksgiving break and then, for the spring, they are planning to have us, have a spring break. So it looks like they're planning on things going off in the fall a little more normally. I think they had said originally that they were planning for a spring break this semester and then they had to cancel it. So, obviously anything's up in the air, but, hopefully with COVID and all that stuff, slowly starting to dissipate, we can, look for a more normal semester. We got to hope for the best. I think there's some brighter days ahead. So I'm really pumped about it. But when is your guys' election?
So the election is March 29th and March 30th. You can vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on both days. And an email will be sent out on the Bryant alerts for Engage.
Okay. Yeah. So it's going to be taking place on Engage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure about that. Cause there always are some, some just like things you got to check over with Engaged. But so for any Bryant students, that's some great information for you guys. But we were talking about it earlier in the show. You were saying that you're an Oklahoma City sports fan. In terms of just sports in general, we are a sports show, but I did want to, I did want to talk a little bit about your candidacy because I think it's really interesting, and I think that you're just a very approachable person, and I'm really glad to see that someone like you is running for the position. I really just hope the best for you. I hope that everyone goes out and votes on Engaged on the 29th and 30th. And, but kind of just, going into sports in that kind of an area, like what kind of, always intrigued you about the NBA? Like what kind of got you into just like sports like that?
So I think just basketball in general. I've always loved it. My mom actually played college basketball at Haverford.
Really?
So yeah. I wish I could have played it in college. I play club. Club's good enough.
There you go. Yeah, no. You made your own league.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you want to talk about innovative. You can't get any more innovative than that.
Exactly.
You literally said, I'm going to come out there. I'm going to make my own league. So, but yeah, no, that's actually really cool. So she played basketball at where again? My apologies.
Haverford.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was she, like a point guard? What did she play?
No, she was a power forward.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's crazy, dude. But was it kind of her playing that, got you into the game? Was it kind of like a mix of things that got you into into it? Was it?
Yeah. So I was always interested in basketball, and actually in high school, if I could go back, I would change it. But in high school, I had a choice of either swimming or playing basketball, and I actually chose swimming.
Okay.
And then I had like several injuries that came from swimming, so I wasn't able to swim in college, unfortunately. But maybe not unfortunately, because if I was swimming, then I wouldn't be at Bryant. So I ended up playing basketball here, even though it's my own club. But everything happens for a reason. That's what my parents always tell me.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I agree with that sentiment. I mean, just kind of thinking about, all the stuff that's kind of gone on here. I mean, it really is crazy to, just like see kind of how the sports world has changed. You look at the NBA and, how things shut down a year ago and how they're coming back now. When things shut down kind of a year ago, like what was your kind of mindset, like just seeing everything shut down, like NBA wise, like when that happened, like what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I think for me, when the NBA shut down, that was my like, oh, wow. Like,
yeah,
we're about to be in for something crazy.
Yeah, dude. I remember. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because like the NBA is like a multi-billion-dollar industry, and if they have to shut down, like we're in for some like this is not good. That's when it clicked for me. Like, oh, this is like this whatever COVID is, like it's not normal.
Rudy Gobert shut down an entire league, man.
Yeah,
entire freaking league.
Yeah,
Rudy Gobert, man. I mean, dude shut down literally the entire NBA. But kind of going back, but kind of now looking at like your kind of sports fandom. You said you're from New Jersey, but you're an OKC fan. Obviously one of the OKC staples, Russell Westbrook. He's been kind of been traded about recently. He I think last year he was sent to the Rockets, and now this year he's currently on the Washington Wizards. There were some rumors swirling about. They've started to die down, but there were some possible rumors about Russell Westbrook possibly being sent out to the Los Angeles Clippers to team up with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I don't know what the return necessarily would be. It would probably have to be at least something decent for my. I mean, maybe not because of the contract. I'm not too sure what's going on there. But what were your thoughts on what are your thoughts on a possible Russell Westbrook Kawhi PG collab?
I mean, I think that actually almost happened in Toronto.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but when like Paul George was being traded, I remember seeing a thing where like, oh, they wanted to trade Russell Westbrook and Paul George to Toronto to team up with Kawhi.
I think I remember something similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was always something like that's interesting. But I saw the Clipper news because I saw throughout the season, like even last year, the Clippers are like, oh, we need a point guard. Yeah. But I saw that and I was like, I don't think the Wizards would trade Russell Westbrook to the Clippers because he just got to the Wizards and the Wizards have been down a lot this year, but they've been pretty decent recently. Yeah. I remember like they just had a game where like Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal combined for they each had like 40 points each or something. Wow. I mean, like 40 and 30. So they've been playing a lot better. Russ has really turned it around. He was off to a slow start to start the season, but I think the Wizards are going to make the playoffs.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's a take right there. We'll take that. One of the things I'm wondering about if Russell Westbrook was to get sent to the Los Angeles Clippers, Stephen A. Smith was talking about on First Take, and he was saying that, Russell Westbrook, he's just a very ball dominant guard. I mean, he's not really kind of really too much of the assist driven guy. He's going to be, the guy is a specimen. He's going to go to the rim and just like wreak havoc on a guy. And he was almost saying that might not bode as well for Kawhi and PG. Do you kind of think differently? Do you think that he would be able to succeed there, instead?
Yeah, I think he definitely would be able to succeed. Like if you look at Paul George, his best season ever in his career is when he was playing with Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
So I think there's proof right there that like Russ, he has his flaws, but he will always try to win. Mm-hmm. And I think that's his biggest asset. So I think a group of like Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Kawhi. I think that would definitely be interesting, but I think that's definitely a championship team.
Yeah. I mean, what I kind of look at Russell Westbrook, and I think if he's willing to do it, I mean, I look at someone like Carmelo Anthony, back when he was kind of in his prime with the Knicks and all that stuff. He was a very like ISO ball driven guy, but then you contrast that with the Carmelo Anthony that we would see on Team USA, and he actually really was able to share the ball more. He was just a much, better functioning player when he was like on Team USA. I'm kind of wondering, if Russell Westbrook was to go to the Clippers, could he possibly do something like that where he is able to spread the ball a little more and kind of do things like that? I think it's in the realm of possibility. I mean, Russ is, he's an MVP for a reason. He's able to, he averaged a triple double at one point. So the assists aren't really a problem for him. So I think that, getting him in with that lineup, plus there's going to be, guys getting rests on different days, all that load management. So I think having him in there, having him work with PG, PG could, regain some of that confidence that I think that he's lost over the past couple of years, especially with fans kind of being at his neck. So I think that, getting Russ on the Clippers would be a hell of a move for LA. I just don't know what the hell they're giving up at this point.
Yeah, exactly. They give up everything for Paul George.
Yeah.
Kawhi signed there, so they didn't give up anything for him. And I don't know what the Clippers would give up. They don't have much assets.
Yeah, Pat Bev would be out the door, I think, obviously. There would just be there'd be a lot of assets, I think, out the door. And at that point, you kind of have to wonder, does it become, is it just going to be those three and then just whatever scrubs you can put out on the court? That can be a problem sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they can carry the load for a good stretch of games, but after a while, you're going to want to have at least some reserves you can rely upon.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
The Clippers, the one thing I think Russ would do on the Clippers, like the Clippers, I don't know if they still are, but I think they had the number one 3-point percentage in the league.
Wow.
I don't know if they still are, but they're definitely, I don't think they fell off that much, man. They're probably still top 5.
Yeah, I'd have to check. I'd have to check on that, but I wouldn't doubt that. If they're shooting a good clip, then I think getting Russ in there would obviously, hopefully help them out. And, it looks like it could, really be a promising future for them.
Yeah. If Russ was on a team, their 3-point percentage would go down just because he's not a great 3-point shooter, but you can't be great at everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would work well for him because there's just a lot of space, and that's like what you need for Russ.
Yeah. And another former OKC point guard that I wanted to talk about on tonight's show, who's been, also just being a stud so far with his new team. That is Chris Paul. He is, he's gone to the Phoenix Suns this year. He took your guys' Thunder, I don't know if it was the second round or however, long it was, but he took the Rockets to 7 games, after getting traded from them the season prior. He worked with a team that a lot of people thought was going to be rebuilding. And he really just battled for those guys. And, he went to the Suns this offseason, a Suns team that in the bubble, won every game that was there, but still just due to seeding fell out of playoff favor. He's gone to them this year. And I believe they're still, as of right now, the 2nd seed in the West, which is incredible. Devin Booker's taken off too. DeAndre Ayton's been great, but it looks like Chris Paul has really kind of just been the glue that's made the Suns team run. What has your thought been on Chris Paul this season?
Yeah, Chris Paul, incredible.
Yeah.
Me personally, I knew how great he was because he was an all-star with the Thunder. I thought Devin Booker should have been an all-star over Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, they both ended up being all-stars, so I guess it all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
But Chris Paul has been amazing. I think one thing that nobody talks about as the Suns is Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's either small, he's like a 3 or a 4, small forward or power forward, but he's just the perfect 3-and-D. He has long arms, so he can play amazing defense, and then he shoots a 3-ball at a pretty decent clip. So I think he's an underrated part. Chris Paul, obviously amazing, but Mikal Bridges is definitely the X factor.
Yeah, that is something to look at too. Something I've been seeing a lot of, which I think it's a little absurd, but I was referring to this as the Chris Paul effect before all these talks were coming in. I think Kenny the Jet Smith and Charles and all those people over on TNT, they were kind of saying that Chris Paul right now has better numbers than Steve Nash did. At least they said at the time than Steve Nash did when he won the MVP. And I mean, a lot of people look at the MVP and they look at Russell Westbrook, who averaged a triple double and took the net and took the not the Nets, took the Thunder to the playoffs. They look at Harden, who had an incredible run. They look at Giannis, who's put up incredible numbers. In terms of being the most valuable, I mean, Chris Paul definitely has himself a case. I mean, I have his numbers right here. I mean, the points, I mean, in terms of points, he was averaging like, I think north of 16 before. It's down to 15.9. So he may have had an off game or so. He's averaging like about 5 rebounds, which for a guy of his height, only 6 foot, is pretty decent. And then he's averaging 8 points and he's averaging almost 9 assists a game. So, and that's 5th in the league. So, I think he definitely has a bid. I mean, I think that there'll be definitely some guys that maybe give him some votes. I think that it's probably going to go to LeBron or someone else this year. But, I think that, like, where do you kind of stand on the whole idea of, him being eligible for MVP? Do you think it should go to the guy with the, most illustrious stats? Or do you think Chris Paul should kind of be in the running for this, because of how much he's helped this team out?
Yeah, I think the MVP is always just an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Because, like, if it goes to the best player in the league, like, LeBron's getting it every single year. But if it goes to, like, the player that, like, if you take them off the team, then what's their team now? Then that's just a whole different story. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So with Chris Paul, like, he's if you take him off the Suns, like, I mean, yeah, they basically had the same if they basically had the same team last year. They just added Chris Paul and minus Ricky Rubio, and like some small changes there. But like,
yeah, was Ricky Rubio the cancer of the Phoenix Suns? No.
Yeah, maybe.
No. I mean, just the tabloids, just running about how awful Ricky Rubio is. I no offense to Ricky Rubio, I don't know Ricky Rubio at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, you kind of brought up the LeBron thing about LeBron, winning MVP. Kyle Kuzma recently came out and was saying that, I think he said he was basically saying that the MVP and the NBA is basically just like a political type of an award. And that if it wasn't for that, LeBron would be like a 10-time MVP, he said. Do you kind of agree with that? I mean,
I don't know about 10-time MVP.
Yeah.
I think LeBron in 2018 when Harden won, I think LeBron should have won it. Because that's when obviously like the votes go in like after the playoff. I mean before the playoffs. But that playoff run was incredible. And like it was just like LeBron injured Kevin Love for the whole season.
Yeah.
IT, and then they traded the whole team. And I think they were the 4th or 3rd seed.
Yeah, I mean, and then they knocked off my Celtics, I think, on the way to the finals. So
yeah, LeBron was had 40 something and 9, I think, in that last game 7. They'll hit that 2 fadeaway threes over Jason Tatum. I remember that.
Wild.
Yeah,
it was absolutely wild. I mean, I look at LeBron and I do I think they do have a point there, but it's kind of a similar degree to, in my opinion, you look at certain players and, I think that, Bill Belichick of the Patriots, he could have, back when, at least when Brady was on the team and they were, on the run that they were on, he had a bid usually every year for being the coach of the year because of just how much they succeeded and because where you knew they were going. I think that you do have to know that it's going to get spread out, every so often. It's going to be like, hey, this guy had a good year. Let's give him some credit, all credit's due. I feel like LeBron's starting to get that, support again because he hasn't gotten it. I don't think he's gotten it since he was with the Heat. So I think he's starting
2013 maybe, I think.
Yeah,
was his last MVP.
Yeah, so I think it's, it's really kind of is a political award that I kind of do agree with Kuzma on that. I mean, in the MLB, I had some gripes about this back in 2016 when Mookie Betts got snubbed for the MVP for Mike Trout, where, Mike Trout was, I know you're not too much of a baseball guy, but Mike Trout was, he was on a 70-win 3rd place, basically kind of, out of the playoffs, LA Angels team. And Mookie Betts was, just a stud on the Red Sox in that 2016 playoff run. It wasn't the year they won the World Series, but you take him off that team and, they're not doing what they're doing that year. I mean, so yeah. I think that you do have to kind of look at team value, but I can understand where it's like, hey, we can't just give it to the same guy every year, even if they do kind of deserve it. I mean, you don't want to absolutely snub a guy, but, I think, just spreading it out, I think it does kind of give, fans that kind of I feel like it kind of gives fans something to look at. I mean, and when a guy does go back to back, it becomes like an, oh my God, they went back to back. Like you look at Steph Curry, who went back to back. You look at Giannis, who I believe just went back to back.
Yeah.
And it is like kind of an achievement to do something like that.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I don't think Giannis should have won it last year. I think LeBron should have won it. They were the number. I mean, I think people say like, oh, he had Anthony Davis and Giannis. Giannis has no one. But at the end of the day, who's holding up the chip?
Yeah.
Who's got the ring?
I mean, yeah, LeBron did go off in the bubble. I mean, being a Boston sports fan, it gotta have some animosity towards LeBron James. One of the ways I'm now having animosity towards LeBron James is because he just bought my Red Sox.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
You saw that headline, right? He went out. So this broke, I think, like during the middle of the week. And I see this happen, and I see LeBron James. He's already had ownership within Fenway Sports Group. So he's already had ownership of like Liverpool and like the soccer organizations there. But I guess with like this latest purchase, he's officially a member of the Red Sox. And I mean, he already technically owns the Celtics. So, I mean, the fact that he now has to own my favorite baseball team really just does me dirty. And it does kind of, take a little bit out of you. What are your thoughts on just like him on LeBron, being able to just own like teams like this? And, I mean, you see Michael Jordan, who, owns a sports team, and you see all these other guys who kind of have these things, but they're retired. I mean, LeBron is still, kicking, is in the NBA, and he's still doing well. Like we were saying, he still could win the MVP this year. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the fact that, an active player is kind of able to have this contribution outside the game of basketball?
I think LeBron is a great example of how to not put all your eggs in one basket. I know that's kind of an old saying.
Nah, I'm with you.
Yeah. He just sets a great example about like divesting like your time with different activities and different hobbies, and really just like being a great guy, honestly. Like he owns, I don't know if you know this, but he also owns a pizza chain, Blaze. Yeah, there's one by me in my hometown, and I go there all the time. Yeah.
Really? Okay, yeah. No, there's a funny story. I don't know how much you're a fan of. I don't know how much you at least of like Barstool Sports and that kind of area. Dave Portnoy, who was kind of like the main guy who runs Barstool Sports, because he's a Boston guy, he has a similar kind of animosity towards LeBron James. So when he was in LA or wherever he was reviewing a Blaze Pizza thing, and he goes, I'm gonna be fair. This is a very fine pizza restaurant. I'm not gonna do anything, because he's doing one of his classic pizza reviews, and he takes one bite and he just goes 0. He just loves the pizza. What is your personal experience with Blaze Pizza? Do you think it's really good?
I love it. It's great. You have to make your own pizza. You can make it as weird or as normal as you want it, and like the people there, the people that work at the Blaze near me, they're nice. Me and my friends back in high school would go there like all the time. I haven't been there much recently since I went to college, but
but that's really cool. And again, my animosity isn't with LeBron, just owning it and just deciding that he wants to own the team. I also am kind of a little pissed that, he has kind of, I said this on Wednesday's show with Tyler. He's kind of an open Yankees fan. Like he goes around wearing his Yankees cap, and he does all that. And I mean, I said, if you wanted to epitomize someone who grew up in the 90s, LeBron James is it, because he is just an avowed Yankees and Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Both of which just had the biggest amount of success in the 1990s. So I'm just like, I'm not trying to say LeBron is a bandwagoner, but he's a bandwagoner.
Yeah. He's a bandwagoner. Yeah. Exactly.
So I mean, hopefully he doesn't end up showing up to Fenway, wearing the pinstripes, and I just have to, sulk and, and just, and cry myself to sleep. Hopefully he does show up wearing the B. But LeBron James, continuing just his, empire that is him just as a brand now, not just a player. I mean, he is, completely just taken over, just sports in general. I mean, global icon at this point. But that kind of covers what we have over with LeBron. Staying in Boston, the Celtics this year have been going through a lot of struggles. I mean, I know you're saying you were a Thunder fan, but it doesn't take a diehard Boston sports fan to know that the Celtics haven't been performing up to their standards this year. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, but this year they've been off to kind of a slower start. They've gotten Marcus Smart back recently, and we're going to see how that plays out down the stretch. But a lot of people are wondering, can Brad Stevens handle actual star talent? When when, Doc Rivers was sent out and they brought in all these like new prospects, and it was kind of a rebuilding team. He was kind of able to rally those guys around because it was almost kind of a college atmosphere where a lot of those guys didn't have like some big reputation or anything to play for. And he was able to kind of like rally the troops, and he was able to make some pretty solid playoff runs. I mean, you saw what he did with Isaiah Thomas and all those guys, and really was able to, and really turn that into the whole Kyrie thing that we had with Kyrie, Tatum, Brown, Horford, Hayward before the leg and all that stuff. It looked like we had a really good team going for a little bit, after Kyrie left, after Horford left, and after just some differences there, it looks like, it seems like there's been like we've taken a step back this year. And a lot of people have wondered, can he handle it? Can he handle like coaching these big time stars? And some people are wondering, like, is he going to leave Boston? What's his deal going to be? There were some rumors that he could be going, back to college, and the team that he could be going to coach would be the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Did you see that whole thing going down? Where do you think that Brad can handle it in the NBA? Because I think he can, but I think the hot seat is warming.
Yes, the hot seat's definitely warm for him. But so there's a lot there. So I want to go back.
Yeah,
to the
sorry, that was a lot. I'm sorry for that. That's just kind of me clearing the deck right there. But your thoughts?
Yeah. So first, I mean, I know about the Celtics because, like, I go to school here. They're unavoidable. So yeah, Brad Stevens. I don't remember. They brought him in 2011, right around there, 2010.
I think he came in around like 20. So the whole KG trade with KG and Pierce, that happened around, I believe, I think 2012, 2013 is when that happened. So I think he came around 2013, 14.
Yeah, but he came in with like Avery Bradley, when Jay Crowder, Jared Sullinger was like, what a time.
Evan Turner, Rajon Rondo.
Yes. And then IT was brought in. Yeah, so I think Brad Stevens, I think he's a great coach, top 5 coach in the NBA.
Yeah,
I think the thing that just what's going on with the Celtics is just that I don't even think it's his fault. I think it's more of Danny Ainge's fault, really, and his ability to get the right players. Like obviously the whole like Hayward and having the whole Hayward Kyrie thing and that IT drama that caused a lot of friction. And for me personally, Jaylen Brown has been one of my favorite players ever.
Yeah.
I this is wrong now, but I thought Jaylen, like, everyone was getting hyped for Jason Tatum. I was all like, why are you getting hyped for Jason Tatum? Like, Jaylen Brown's easily the better player. But I mean, obviously, if I was being realistic, maybe Jason Tatum is like a little bit better than Jaylen Brown.
I don't know, dude. I mean, a lot of people have actually kind of been coming to Jaylen Brown's side at least a lot more this year. I mean, Tatum's had a bit more of a gradual kind of ascent, whereas that Tatum's been having a bit more of like a gradual kind of ascent. I mean, he's only 23 years old. So, I mean, everyone was saying for the longest time, he's only 19. And he's still only 23 years old. So he's got a long way to go in his NBA career. And, the sky is the limit for this kid. With Jaylen Brown, I think he's like a year or so older. For him, what I've been seeing is that he's been going up incrementally each year. And I think he started off, I think his first year in Boston was like 6 points a game. The next year, 13. The next year, 20. And now this year, it's 27 points a game. I think at least a while back is what he was averaging. I don't know what it is now, but he's made big strides every year. He's actually, really proven to kind of be a solid piece for this team. And, he might have a bit. And I think if the Celtics did have to, trade one of those guys to bring in like a more proven superstar, I think Jaylen Brown has a solid shot of being the guy who stays because of just how much he's improved.
Yeah, I mean, if Jaylen Brown wants to come to my Thunder, I would love that. SGA, Lou Dort, and Jaylen Brown, that'd be such a team right there.
Oh my God, that would be incredible. But yeah, I mean, you were kind of saying like, I mean, we were kind of bringing up all the thing about Brad Stevens. I think that he's safe too. You were even saying to me before the show that he actually kind of went on record saying that he's a masshole through and through.
Yes.
So I'm glad to see that he does embrace the atmosphere, because not a ton of Boston athletes can, and not a lot of people can, stand it here. But you said that, you are from New Jersey, and you kind of said that just, going to school up here, that just kind of the atmosphere of, being in a Celtics town and all that stuff is kind of inevitable. From what I've heard from a lot of people outside of New England and all that stuff, they kind of come here and they just see, how crazy the fans are and the atmosphere and here, and they just think it's absolutely crazy. I don't know what your experience is, with being in New England before college and everything like that. Did you kind of have a similar realization of like how crazy they take things up here, or?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I haven't really, before coming to college, I didn't really go to Boston that much.
Yeah.
I mostly went to like New York because it's like 30 minutes from my house.
No, literally.
But I actually have a quick story. So freshman year, I go visit my friends in BC, and I think it was Halloween weekend, and like I'm not. For me personally, I was not gonna like bring a whole Halloween costume, so I just wore my Russell Westbrook jersey, and the Thunder just played like the night before, and they lost. So I was walking around, and this guy, he was a little out of it. He goes, "Hey," "Hey, you, did we beat you guys yesterday?" And I was like, first I was like, "Who's he talking?" It was like, and then he's like, "Yeah, you in the Thunder shirt." And I was like, "Oh, me?" And he's like, "Yeah, we beat you guys. Why are you wearing that?" And I was like, "Yeah, you did beat us. I'm sorry. I just needed to wear it though."
Yeah, dude. I mean, you get some absolutely brutal people up here. I mean, if your team loses, like they're gonna rip you for it. I mean, it is kind of crazy. And I mean, the one place that I wish we did see a little more of that kind of a passion, it's a very passionate pro city. College on the other hand, BC's, has their time with certain sports, but obviously in terms of having a national college like football team we can root for, it's not like there's an Alabama, it's not like there's an Auburn or like any of those big schools here that we can root for. So it is kind of difficult. I'm actually just a Michigan football fan, like, so go blue. Because there's really no big school here, like outside of your local schools and stuff like that you can root for. So I mean, it kind of is that is kind of the one place where I feel like New England does lack in terms of just like in terms of just like really passionate fans. But it's pretty crazy but from what I've seen, it's pretty, for most people, it's pretty crazy. Like the first time you come here and you just see like the passion out of certain people.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I would say just from my personal experience, like Boston and Philly, just crazy. Philly's probably a different type of crazy though than compared to Boston. I was at a Sixers game. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember it might have been the 2018 season where it was like Russell Westbrook versus Joel Embiid, and it was like in a quadruple overtime in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was at that game.
Jeez, that's awesome, dude.
Wearing my Thunder gear. Ooh, and then
that is enemy territory right there.
Exactly. I was really in enemy territory. So I was walking back with my family. I was like covering up my Thunder sweatshirt because they were going crazy in the parking lot. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, I've had similar experiences like that. I mean, I've been at Yankee games where the Red Sox are playing and I'm in my gear. It was actually David Ortiz's Big Papi's last year in the MLB. And, like towards the end of the season, like they had like all the fans like started to show their respect, and they were like all kind of like, oh, he's off to a great career, all that stuff. But dude, I went in like the middle of the season, so before he retired and all that stuff. But they knew he was going to retire, and I'm at the game, and there's just this big burly Yankees fan, and he's just, Ortiz is up at the plate, and he's just like, "You suck, buddy!" Like all this crazy stuff he's saying. I can't say it on my podcast. This podcast would I would no longer be able to do it. but he's saying like just a bunch of stuff, and they're just so fired up at these guys, and the passion and just the hatred of the teams runs so crazy here that it is kind of just its own culture. It's actually crazy.
Yeah. Definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm. But diverging from Boston sports, there's some other key NBA things going on too. Actually, if we want to stick with New York, former Knicks legend Pat Ewing, and he's now the coach of the Georgetown Hoyas. I don't know, did they play today? I'm not too sure. I'd have to check on their game, but they're the 12 seed right now. They're facing off against Colorado. Don't know anyone on their team, but I just know Pat Ewing's coach in Georgetown. But he was trying to get into a game at Madison Square Garden, and he was just like, I guess he basically said that he was accosted by security there. He said he's past it now. I guess he talked with the owner. I guess he talked with James Dolan and all those guys. I don't know if you heard about that story, but just like I mean, like that's a terrible look for the Knicks because like they're trying to recruit free agents, and if they're treating one of their all-time guys like that, like how the hell are you going to try to get a guy like Kevin Durant? And like if you're treating like that, Kevin Durant's obviously going to choose the Nets over you if you're treating a legend like that. Like he can't, like that, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that reminds me of in the 2019 finals. That's like something similar happened to Masai Ujiri, who's like the owner or GM of the Raptors.
Yeah, he was trying to get on the court, and they kept IDing him. And I mean, I don't know if he had like a press pass on or what it was, but it was kind of a crazy thing with him. I remember he was trying to get on the court, and I think that as a security guard, like I don't think these guys are NBA fans. I think these guys are just like, I think they're literally just part of like, I don't think they're Knicks security. I think they're literally just Madison Square Garden security. So I don't think it's a matter of knowing the names of all the jerseys flying on the wall and all that stuff. But I mean, and maybe with Masai Ujiri, I mean, I don't know how much of like a memorable face he is there with the people of Toronto and all that stuff. But I mean, with Pat Ewing, the dude is 7 foot tall. I don't know how. I mean, even if you're like, I don't know, I feel like you'd look at him and just be like, you seem important.
Yeah, you definitely play basketball.
I feel like we should let you into the game. You might be a coach here.
Yeah, exactly.
And guess what? If he's not supposed to be there, it's not like he's going to be able to hide anywhere. I mean, the dude again is 7 foot tall. So if Pat Ewing wasn't supposed to be in that arena, they would be able to locate him pretty quickly and make that decision.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like the second incident at MSG with like a former Knick. Because do you remember Charles Oakley way back?
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. I mean, my dad was a Knicks fan growing up, and like these were the guys that he rooted for growing up. So like seeing them getting treated this way is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Dolan is a joke. I mean, he's just been an absolute clown show with that team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they kind of lucked out this year with Julius Randle turning into
he's been a stud this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like apparently he said he's passed it. He said he talked with Dolan, so it's good that things seem to have smoothed over. But that was that was a pretty volatile situation. I think it's still pretty volatile with Charles Oakley. I mean, he literally got physically like taken out of the arena. That was awful when we saw that happen. Like that was ridiculous. I mean, similar situation happened with Spike Lee. I remember that happened like before COVID and all that stuff hit. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Like he's a season ticket holder for you guys for so long. And you're going to tell him that he can't come in this way. Like one of your all time fans, like he's stuck through you through thick and thin, and you're going to give him trouble. Like it's ridiculous. I mean, like I get the whole thing of like trying to, keep the arena safe, do all that stuff. But I mean, when they're like those handful of guys, and I mean, literally a handful, it's like Ewing, Spike, Charles, like those are like the three guys that they should be able to be like, okay, I don't think that they're going to be a threat to the. I don't think they're going to be a threat to the guard. We can make that determination. Like those are like those should just be some groundwork things of like, hey, these guys are no nonsense. Like we don't worry about these guys.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, Spike Lee's. I mean, he's not a Knicks player, but he's a Knicks like fan legend. Like there's that 100%. famous Reggie Miller and Spike Lee interaction.
Oh my God, that is an all-timer, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
That is an all-timer. That interaction with those guys.
Definitely got to do better. Definitely got to do better.
That was ridiculous, man. But a final thing that in NBA news that I did want to touch on, up and coming, basketball prospect Mikey Williams. I don't know how well you know about him, but he recently took to social media and he said. He was basically saying, I don't know if he tweeted this or whatnot, but I guess on social media or however he did this, he said, I'm not going to prom. I'm going to the gym, to go work out and work on my craft. And Damian Lillard goes and replies to him and decides to go, hey man, just go to prom.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see that reaction? Like from Damian Lillard? I got to agree with him here. I mean, I get the whole thing of there's like that whole thing of it being like, oh, you could be out partying with your friends, or you could be in the gym working on your craft and all that stuff. And I get the whole thing of a sacrifice for the NBA. And I would never be able to handle that. Like that is something that, only a select few people on this planet can, undergo. But you're looking at that. And I mean, I feel like he's a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid. If he's going to prom, dude, you got to live a little, like, it is a grind, but you're a kid, and when you're in your 30s and if you're in the NBA, hopefully you get there, you're not going to have that chance again. So, I mean, if you're Mikey Williams, go out and live your life. You're only a kid. So that's where I'm kind of with that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. See, like life's all about like not being too overly committed to one thing. Like if you if you're like Mikey, like he was trying to show like he's a grinder. But like prom's a once in a lifetime thing. Like I would have hated if I missed my own prom. Like I love my prom. So yeah. So like I'm definitely side with Dame. It's like just you gotta go live your life, because like you spend all your day in the gym, get into the NBA, but you spend all your day like still in the gym. By the time you retire, yeah, you'll have had an NBA career, but you'll be all alone because you wouldn't have made any friends along the way. Or spend time with them.
Big prom guys over here on this podcast. Big prom
guys.
But it is currently 7:53. Bryant, I really appreciate you having me on this show, but it is officially time to say we are now down to the wire, which means we're going to go through everything we talked about on this show. We started things off by welcoming you in. We talked about your campaign. We talked about, where you're from, all that stuff. If there's any way for people to reach you, would it be your Instagram? Like, is there any way that you want to kind of shout yourself out real quick?
Yeah, sure. You can reach me on Instagram, bry.brown. You can email me, bbrown9@bryant.edu. Just whichever way you can have to contact me, just contact me. I'm usually reply to Instagram DMs, text messages, emails relatively quick.
Yeah, and for anyone who is wondering, we'll be posting we'll be putting Bryant's Instagram in one of our posts coming out soon on our Instagram to promote this episode. If you guys aren't subscribed to us yet on YouTube or Spotify, make sure you go do that. We're releasing currently an audio mini series. We went back and we were able to recover some of the earlier episodes of Down to the Wire in our creation. Tomorrow we're going to hopefully be releasing episode 4 of the Down to the Wire Lost Tapes, featuring our first ever special guest, John Warren. That should hopefully be coming out tomorrow. And then the 5th and final installment should hopefully be coming out on Sunday. If you guys don't follow us yet on Instagram, make sure you follow us at down.tothewire. Once again, follow Bryant Brown. Bryant, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. But it is now 7:55. We're going to let you guys get started on your weekend a little early. We wish you guys the best. But from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Bryant Brown.
And we hope you guys have a great weekend. Take care.